But the leadership always seemed to me to be, particularly Wayne LaPierre, completely outrageous, utterly insensitive, totally uncompromising. Why is that?
Well, I think if you look at the history of gun laws, make a list of which cities and states have the most oppressive gun laws. You'll find they also have more crime and more shootings. There's actually, if you look at the science, you know, liberals are always saying we should look at the science, and yet they don't want to look at the existing science on whether gun laws make us safer or less safe. John Lott did the first study of all the counties in the United States, and where you had concealed carry permits, more gun ownership by citizens, you actually had significantly less crime, hundreds and thousands of fewer murders, fewer rapes. What you don't have reported in the news is the fact that those states that put in concealed carry laws decades ago and have more people carrying guns are safer to live in than ones that ban it. So when you ask, why don't we do something stupid, the answer is because we've looked at the statistics, because we've looked at the science, and flat earthers should not be passing new laws.
Well, let me throw some science at you. How do you explain that, as I said to Mr. Feldman earlier, America has between 11 and 12,000 gun murders a year, 18,000 gun suicides a year, 100,000 Americans are hit by gunfire a year. And you look at somewhere like Britain, or you look at somewhere like Australia, or Japan, or I could name dozens of other countries that have pretty strict gun control laws and just have negligible gun deaths. I mean, literally like 40 or 50 people a year get killed. How do you explain that, Grover, in any rational way that convinces me that countries that don't have guns in mass circulation have almost no gun crime?
Well, if you compare apples and apples and look in the United States, I mean, obviously Brazil and South Africa and other countries have a great number of gun crimes, and they have very serious gun laws. So gun laws haven't solved the problem in other countries. And where you've put in more gun laws in Australia and Britain, you've had more crime in general, more robberies, more crime. They've become less safe. Now, in the United States, compare the states, 50 or 57, however you want to count them. They've all got different gun laws.
Okay,
they have different rules.
Let me get Van in here. Let me get Van in here, because he's shaking his head vigorously. Van?
Yeah, well, first of all, that's just actually not true. But I want to say a couple things. This is not
wait a minute, it is
about
true.
Concealed carry.
It is true.
Hold on a second. It's not true.
You can't
First of
deny
all,
the science. You're a science denier, Van.
Are you going to let me talk? You've had a wonderful time
Let's not be flat earthers about
talking.
gun laws, guys, and statistics.
Hey, listen, I'm with you. I'm for stats and statistics. Here's what's actually true. This is not a debate about concealed carry. You want to move the argument over to something that nobody's arguing about. Nobody's arguing about concealed carry. People are arguing about military-style weapons on the streets of America and whether or not that is a good thing or a bad thing.
That's a false premise. That's a false premise.
No, that's not. It's a false premise.
Van, do you
that's
actually know what the difference is? I'm going to correct you
DC
because I'm tired of this talking point being put out there. First and foremost, let's get something straight. Military-style assault weapons are not out on the street. We are talking about semi-automatic weapons, weapons that are capable of select fire, or weapons that are fully automatic. Then you can use. No, I'm not going to let this go anymore, Piers.
No, Dana, you said this repeatedly on my show.
Let's stop conflating. Let's stop playing about ignorance and let's stop conflating.
General Stanley McChrystal used the phrase. So forget us, forget Van, forget me. One of the great military commanders of the last 20 years in America said these were military-style weapons. So is he wrong? Do you know more about these weapons than General McChrystal does?
General McChrystal is also of your same ideology, so I want to put that out there first and foremost. There is a deliberate effort to conflate the types of firearms. I do not own a military-style assault weapon. Just because of what a firearm looks scary, then you call it military assault? Do you realize that one of my children has a BB gun that looks like an AR-15? Is that going to be considered a military-style assault weapon? It sounds silly and uneducated.
Adam Lanza killed. Wait a minute. Adam Lanza killed.
It's dangerous.
Adam Lanza, as we now know, in the space of 300 seconds, using an AR-15, killed 26 people, Dana. He had magazines with 30 bullets.
Yeah.
Are you telling me?
And he reloaded 4 times. Anyone can reload.
Are you telling me that
anyone can reload?
Dana, let me finish. Are you telling me that doesn't qualify as an assault weapon?
By the technical definition, no, Piers. anything can be qualified as an assault weapon. If you stab someone with a spoon, it can be qualified as an assault weapon.
So you're equating stabbing somebody with a spoon to shooting dead 26 people.
If this is a conversation about a ban on magazine capacity,
really? You're talking about stabbing somebody with a spoon?
Piers, you can take a speed loader and reload a revolver. 150 rounds, that means he had to reload 4 times. And the only reason that he stopped was because he heard authorities. No, Van, this is the strategy of the people who actually deliberately want to disarm individuals. You guys talk about magazine, you talk about magazine restrictions.
Okay, let Van have his say.
See, this is a conscious strategy on the part of the pro-gun folks to constantly bring things back around to things that don't make any sense. You're talking about people stabbing people with spoons. If that were the problem we had in America, people stabbing people with spoons, we wouldn't be talking about this right now. What we're talking about is funeral after funeral after funeral. What we're talking about is our children being gunned down, and what we're talking about is common sense measures. Not confiscating guns. We're not talking about that. We're talking about common sense measures that 90% of Americans agree with and that the majority of gun owners agree with. But when you guys get on television, you don't talk like the people who actually are the gun owners in America. What you talk like are people who want to take the conversation in a direction that has nothing to do.
And by the way, CBS, the latest CBS poll shows that support for these gun control measures is tanking. This is about disarmament. Let me ask you. Yes, no, let me finish my thought because I have a very logical thought that I want to let you answer. I'm tired of this conflation and this uneducation when it comes to using terms about firearms. Let's use accurate terms so that people know what we're talking about. If this is about limiting the number of children dying, let's talk about magazine capacity. Why, if 30-round magazine capacity isn't okay, then what's the difference between 30 rounds and what's the difference between 7 rounds? Piers Morgan, let me ask you a question. How many children, how many deaths are okay to you? How many deaths are okay to you? Answer that question.
Let me ask you a question. The difference between 30 and 7 is 23. So it could save 23 lives if there was a federal
So 7's okay with
on any of these magazines.
7 lives lost are okay with you then.
And you actually, no, you know what, Dana? 7
okay, I understand that. 7 lives lost are okay.
7 is better than 30,
7 lives lost to you are all right.
30 are okay with you.
Dana, is better than losing 30. Yes, it is.
I'm just trying to establish where you draw the line. Where do you draw the line at preventing the deaths of children, Piers? I mean,
I would love to draw the line.
Any loss of life is horrible. But
I would love to draw the line, Dana, at 0 gun deaths in America every year.
So you do believe in disarmament then?
I said 0 gun deaths.
So you do believe in disarmament?
0 gun deaths.
That's the answer that I wanted.
When did I say disarmament? No, wait a minute. You talk about conflating the argument.
Piers,
Dana, when did I say disarmament?
I'm taking it down. I'm using your logic and going down that road. If you're talking about limiting magazines, first and foremost, any magazines are universal. I can make one in my garage.
I said I wanted 0. I said I wanted 0 gun deaths.
Let's take that and throw that out. Okay,
let me finish. Oh, we have to go to a break, but you said I wanted 0 gun deaths. You announced that meant I wanted disarmament. That's the problem with the pro-gun debate.
About your logic.
Let's take a break. Anyway, let's all calm down, come back and talk about gay marriage. I'm sure.
I want to respond to Dana.
That's going to be even more lively, probably, so let's try that. Nordquist, before we move on from guns, let's read a quick tweet. This is from Stephen Smith, who says, to me, where can you buy these deadly assault spoons? Maybe Dana could help him with that later. But let's move on to...
Really, it goes over people's heads that fast. Anything, Piers, they're stabbing deaths every day.
Let's move on. It was just a little joke, Dana. Let's move on.